We would like to make the military focused on killing people and blowing stuff up again, because that's what a military is supposed to be for. Sparingly used, not in endless wars, but ready and able to defend the United States of America.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank the Speaker. I thank the Chairman, the Ranking Member. I would just take issue with the characterization of what has transpired with respect to the legislation before us. We have passed, by voice vote even, 4 bipartisan en bloc amendments with items like China, Taiwan, readiness, munitions, Israel, a host of issues that do not fall into the category that the ranking member raises, which I'm happy to address in a moment. There are countless other amendments that we have raised, addressed. For example, my friend Mr. Rosendale's, that I know is near and dear to the heart of my friend Mr. Griffith from Virginia, that limits indefinite detention. Other amendments, for example, Mr. Norman requiring that any Department of Defense component that fails to pass an independent audit have 1.5% of its budget returned to the Treasury for deficit reduction. These are a lot of very good common sense amendments that we went through the process and combed through 1,500 amendments and made decisions in the Rules Committee on how to equitably bring them to the floor that cover the gamut of issues that the American people are concerned about when they see their Department of Defense no longer able to defend the United States. And that's the question. And I hear the ranking member talking about how we're injecting culture wars into the National Defense Authorization Act, or injecting culture wars into the military, when in fact it is this administration that has turned the Department of Defense into a social engineering experiment wrapped in a uniform. That's what's happening. And that's what the American people see. When the American people see advertisements in June with rainbow bullets strapped to helmets, when they see surgeries for transgender being funded by taxpayers at the Department of Defense, when they see the Department of Defense ignoring existing law, existing precedent, existing traditionally historic bipartisan agreements on Hyde Amendment protections, they see the Department of Defense being turned into a social engineering experiment. So of course the People's House is responding to an executive branch that is making policy by executive fiat, not just, of course, in this area, but across the entirety of the federal government. So yes, we are offering amendments to address these things. The Air Force Academy slide deck instructing cadets to use language like, quote, parents and caregivers instead of moms and dads. Well, that's a really great use of time for the Air Force Academy. Don't refer to the phrase mom and dad. Boy, that'll do it. The United States Special Operations Command's Diversity and Inclusion Strategic Plan claims that diversity and inclusion and operational imperatives. The Marines tweeted a Pride Month image, as I pointed out, with rainbow-tipped bullets. This stuff is happening every day. And when I go talk to military recruits and I talk to the recruiters, they're struggling. They're not even able to make their recruiting goals. They're well under their numbers. Why? Because the target audience of people who want to serve in the military don't want to be preached to. They don't want to have their entire worldview being questioned by the leaders and the brass in the military. So we're trying to stop that. We would like to make the military focused on killing people and blowing stuff up again, because that's what a military is supposed to be for. Sparingly used, not in endless wars, but ready and able to defend the United States of America. The American people I talk to back home don't want a weak military. They don't want a woke military. They don't want rainbow propaganda on bases. They don't want to pay for troop sex changes. The American people want a military that can provide for security and win wars, and that is what we are doing with this legislation, and I'm proud to support the rule, and I yield back.